Greetings YouTube and welcome to my channel. I'm going to entitle this video, What Happened to the Snare? Now when I first say that, some people get lost. Like, what is he talking about? Has he lost his mind? But I'm going to break it down to you. Like I've said in my previous video, I've always been attention to detail. And sometimes that's really good. Sometimes that's really bad. So I just, like I mentioned in my previous video, as far as enjoy your era. And, doing your era musically, you enjoying it, you loving what you hear, you emulating it, or bringing those influences into your style of music. Because I used to enjoy putting together drum programs. I think I enjoyed that just as much as playing guitar. And back then, there were emphasis on the structure of song, because apparently the people that were writing back then knew structure of song, instead of just 6-minute run-on jam thing. The drums indicate the changes in the song as far as, okay, we're coming out of the first verse, we're going into the beat section, and we're going into the hook. The drums would indicate that by some type of crescendo, a drum roll, or some type of variation of the drum program, a pattern at the time, like real drummers. But nowadays, I don't hear none of that. I just hear a drum beat running through, sometimes a little emphasis at some point in time, but it's not indicating the changes of the structure of the song. It's like when the Teddy Riley New Jack Swing came about, I was excited because I'm listening to all this great instrumentation that Teddy's doing that a lot of people just didn't appreciate it, didn't understand, or didn't know. I'm listening to the multi-sounding snares. I'm listening to the shuffle, the 3/4 thing, not the 4/4, but just this weird off type of time, and it's the 16 triplets on the hi-hats and things of that nature, and how it's panned throughout the stereo spectrum. You got your headphones. The famous thing is when he was doing that tambolic thing, My Prerogative, Do Me Right by the late what's that rapper's name? I forgot his name. But anyway, I remember distinctively when that went away, when the new era got ushered in and Timberland came around, and all those great snares that Teddy Riley and all these other artists was doing at the time went away, got replaced by this fucking hand claps or finger snaps. Now that's fine to me when you're doing ballads, when you break it down. But when you take the snare out of an up-tempo song, it loses some of its some of its up-tempo kick, because that's what made a lot of Teddy Riley stuff so smoking, was them drum programs. Dum, 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 dum. Now you get boom, boom, some damn hand claps, no snares. It has taken it down a notch, and it's a noticeable takedown to me. And that's when, to me, I start to kind of fall out of this love for what's going on musically, because I'm like, I'm not feeling just this. I want to hear a drum, boom, some compressed, nice, crisp snare drums. Love the snare. That's like if you were to take the snare out of the disco era. Disco would have fell apart, because it was all about that beat, that driving 120 beats per minute thing, that kicking that snare. And then it had adding some flavor. But, like I said, when the Timberland thing came around, all that changed and everything kind of got toned down. And it's still been toned down, even with the rappers, they've always kind of used that really light snare, the 808 or the 909 stuff. But, the R&B was like, hey, snare, baby, none of this clapping or finger snapping thing. Because it has its place, the snapping and the clapping, when you kind of breaking down the song. Because a lot of time when you perform it live, it's like, break it down, boom. Okay, then you go into that hitting the rim shot, or, not hitting nothing, just a kick and a hi-hat. It's the emphasis on it's taking this down. We're taking the music down so we can emphasize on the vocals. But now it's like, with the absence of the snare and all of these tunes today, it's just down already. There's no build up, to take it down, and I noticed that, because I was saying to myself, why am I not feeling this anymore? It's because there's no snare. There's no snare. It's replaced again with hand clapping or snapping. It's like, okay, that's what it is. Because to me, especially for of course, for up tempo tune, the beat is the driving force. When you're doing ballads, there's no snare. It's just a little rim shot thing kind of going. But I just thought I would post this video because I just have these observations that a lot of people kind of don't notice or just they don't think about. And like I said, I'm asking myself, why am I not feeling this stuff today? It's because there's no snare. Nothing kicking and booming. The drums have taken a back seat because, again, like I said, I could just listen to a whole CD of Teddy Riley stuff just with the drums isolated. Just the drums alone could carry a tune, versus now it's like, because I'm going to mention this. Each time you buy a new gear, you have to learn. You have to go through that learning curve. Say, man, I got to sit down for 2 weeks and read the manual and fumble and make a mistake and go back and finally get it right, write it down, do it again tomorrow so I don't forget. Because if I do this today and then I go absent for 3 days and I come back, I'm stumped like, what did I do in step one to get this? Because a lot of the drum machines now, they're not really user-friendly as far as programming them. And when I mean programming them, I mean programming them like how a drummer would approach a song. Because I love my Lisa's HR-16, and what I try to do, and sometimes I'm successful and sometimes I'm not, I still try to write my programs in there because it's user-friendly. It makes sense how it's set up. With the Zoom Street Box, this is real fucked up. When you have a pattern going, and how most drum machines work is, you got pattern 1 going, and in the middle of pattern 1, you select pattern 2. But the drum machine will continue out that first pattern before it executes the second pattern that you've asked to bring up, which makes sense. Street Box, pattern number 1, it's in the middle of it. It's like 4 bars, and it's at bar number 2, so we got another 2 bars to go. When you hit that selector to select another drum program coming up, it goes straight there. It cuts what it's doing right now and goes straight there, which throws off the rhythm big time. I'm like, what were they thinking when they did this? Apparently, the people who were putting this together were not drummers, because that makes no sense that you interrupt it while it's in the middle of it. Instead of, okay, this is what you call up, and once this one finish out, you go to the second one. So it's really hard to write a really decent, legitimate drum program in that drum machine. And it's such a shame because the sounds are unbelievable. It's like a miniature MP60. A lot of stuff that you hear on the radio you can find in that Street Box. So I definitely want to use it for the sounds. But unfortunately, the way that it's set up programming-wise, it's jacked up. And the same thing with the Lisa's X something, because I got all of them in there in the back. Actually, I'm looking at them now, some of them. It's kind of the same way. It's like very hard to write a real simple drum program in there. So, you sometimes forced to say, I have to find other alternatives, or I'm going to end up being a slave to this new lazy technology where there's no emphasis on writing decent drum programs. It's just program 1 beat, let it play out through the whole song, and every now and then with your hand physically, you might hit the snare to indicate, or the crash to indicate a different variation of the drum thing. It's just so unfortunate because, again, the HR-16, I used to write just lavish drum programs. When I was working in the studio, my buddy come by, he's a drummer, and he said, man, turn down everything else and just let me hear what you're doing drum-wise. He's like, man. And I'm like, yeah. I put a lot of effort in everything aspect of my writing or songs. I don't just spend 99% on the keyboards and then 5% on the bass and the drums. I'm like, no. I sit down probably one entire session one day and I just work on nothing but drums. I'm singing the lyrics in my head as I'm writing this program, like, okay, right about here, I'm going to do an accent, I'm going to do a breakdown, I'm going to do something, at this specific point in the song. I know it's coming there because I wrote it to be in there as opposed to, randomly just hitting the crash, throughout the song. No, but unfortunately, again, in today's music, I don't hear that because they're not doing that. I'm like, I miss those days. And like I said in my previous video, enjoy your era, because when it goes away, it's going to be replaced with some crappy and shitty in most cases. In some cases, you know, in some cases, it's just the opposite. You could be somebody that during your era, you were dealing with a major catastrophic illness, and then you got better and now you regain your life. So, so that could be an example of, okay, well, my everything didn't work for me, but once that ushered out and things got better for me health wise or whatever, this is my era. That's wonderful. But for most of us, our era is our era, and when our era goes away, it's replaced with some shitty and crappy. So on that note, I'm gonna sign off. Next time, take care. Thanks for watching.